about 30 by 30. I think we sort of refer to that as UN Agenda 2030, similar type of thing. And if you actually go through and read what a UN Agenda 2030 is all about, it is deeply concerning because they're talking about the fact that nobody will own any land, which ties to Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, where he says, you will own nothing and you will be happy because he says so. I think that what we are witnessing is a massive global order that is absolutely determined. Now, the question for me is, comes back to can you exist outside the grid? And what I would do, there's been several guests, and I'll repeat this. I always follow people that come up as a speaker, and if you want to follow me back, I would be more than happy to have you on the show to talk about these issues that are relevant to your own countries. And there's a few Pine Lakes on because I have a big interest in farming, to producing. Freedom Train International, which I'm the founder, and our co-hosts are Freedom Train International ambassadors. Tonight we've got Malou from Denmark, we've got Peter McIsaac from Canada. And I think one of the biggest things that we're trying to teach people, and we're actually having huge success with it, is to live independently outside the grid or outside the system itself. But also, how do we get digital independence? How do we overcome decentralization? How do we build communities together? Because when you're prepared, you're not scared. And that's one of our mottos. Don't be scared, be prepared. And when you actually have self-reparations, when you're able to know that you've got a hedge of protection around yourself, even if it's only for 2 or 3 months, or better still 6 months, or even better a year, if you get to that point, you are in the 1% of the population. And I think those that go to the trouble and the effort now, instead of going and spending a lot of money on a holiday abroad or that fancy new car or motorbike or whatever we all like to spend our money on, we need to understand there are challenges ahead. We can overcome them, but we've got to sort of get really committed to doing that right now. We've heard, and I'll say it again, CB is going to be introduced by October this year across the EU. Now, whether that will affect the UK itself, I don't know. But we have a Prime Minister in who is a globalist, and he will follow and do whatever his globalist masters tell him to do. So we have to do that. And finally, let me just go back to you because I think you saw your hand up. So please continue.
Yeah, let me give you a little bit more information. So we got notice 2.5 months ago that all of our everything globally is going blockchain. So can't tell you all of it, but I have an NDA, but I can tell you that part. So everything's going blockchain. All of our ships, every single container ship that is going all over the entire world, everything's blockchain. So try to understand what I'm saying by that. I hope you understand that part. So if every single thing that you're buying out there is going blockchain around the world, understand what might be happening in your countries very, very soon. On top of that, there's there's just a lot of things going on right now with Israel, with Syria. I don't talk about any of these kind of wars or that, but the way things are setting up is just, it does kind of look like, people do need to stock up. I would say that, please stock up, because in 28 years of doing what I've done, I've never seen anything like this before. The tariffs in Canada right now, the tariffs here, I mean, the way this is going is unbelievable to me. If you guys have medications, please get them. Please get them. I don't know what's going to happen here in the U.S. I would say basically anybody that gets anything from China, which is all your medications, please make sure to stock up if you can. But it's going to get hairy. I'm just going to say I've never seen this before. It's a little worrying for me. Can I live off the land? Yes, I can. Yes, we can. But, it's not something, I love it. I mean, I love nature. I'm just, it is what it is. I love nature. We have 16 lakes, we have 4 cabins, and, we're good to go. I mean, I can hunt, I can fish, I can take down anything. So that's just who I am. But the thing, and here's my issue too. I got to be honest. So we have all this acreage, right? It's me and my twin. And she's in Italy right now. And so she travels all the time. I negotiate from home. We're opposites, but we have all this property, and I'm speaking to her about this. I'm like, what about Mayor, like getting tiny homes or something? Because we do have lots of trespasses already. And it's just, we we have men on the property as well, but ultimately, I do believe that we can do something with bringing people together. I really do. Like I've spoken to her about it. Now she's busy, she's constantly traveling, but I want to have that kind of society. I would love it if I could have my children, my grandchildren right next to me, or like gardening. I'm teaching them herbs and how to make medicine. And when I say make medicine, I used to think herbalism was like a witchy kind of thing. No, it's not. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute. When I went back and I realized, oh, wait a minute, willow bark is the active ingredient in aspirin. And I started like looking through this, and then that took me through COVID and what you guys are saying, and what are they trying to do to us? COVID, MK Ultra, they isolate you, make you fearful, keep you away from everybody. They're just brainwashing you to be afraid of everything and everyone. And ultimately, it was never set up that way to begin with. We're supposed to be together but not on top of each other. So I call these 15-minute cities, and understand this, guys. Biodigital convergence. Sorry, guys. I have a toothache so bad. So what this is guys, this is called cognition cities. Okay, 15-minute cities, freedom cities by Trump. They're all the same thing. They're doing this and they're going to keep doing it. And so the light systems and the way the 5G and the 6G is set up, we're going to flip to 6G here in 6 months. I have a couple friends. They're like, we're going to flip six. And I'm like, what? Already? So if you guys are getting sick, over here in the United States, we're getting sick. We have this fog. Nobody can sleep. Everybody's in the hospital with these weird, bizarre colds, as well as I have myself. But we can't sleep. So there's only one. It's impossible. It has to be the EMF radiation, the frequencies they're hitting us with. I don't know about you guys over there, but I love the fact that we can speak together. UK, Australia, all the westernized countries, guys. If we can come together and fight back a little bit, just fight back just a tiny little bit, maybe we can understand what's really truly going on. And you know what? Tomorrow we could like literally go, oh, I'm not going to go to work tomorrow, and literally take down the entire system. But unfortunately, when you have something to lose, you have something to lose. When you have nothing to lose anymore, you have nothing to lose. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what we're going to do. I really don't. But thank you so much, Mike.
Well, I mean, it's just a pleasure to have you here, Pine Lakes, and I would invite you. I don't often ask people to follow me back, but in your case, I would say, look, if you would like to follow me back, please do so.
I already did.
Oh, you did? Okay, great. Well, because what I'm going to do, with your permission, is I'm going to reach out to you, and I would love to have you on for an interview. I don't often say this in a space, but in this case, what you're saying ties in so much to what Freedom Train International is actually all about. We want people to live independently, out without fear of the system itself, if they choose to do that, because it's incredibly important. It really is. And once again, you lose the fear when you're able to take care of yourselves and your families, your loved ones, your neighbors, building that sense of community. As I was saying a little bit earlier on, Pine Lakes, there are three strands to our freedom movement. Freedom Train International was created with a strategic element, a tactical element, and an operational element. So let me explain very briefly for everybody that's listening. So the strategic element is what we're doing here with the Freedom Train ambassadors all around the world in different countries. Tactical gets down to the state level, the province level, as you would call it in Canada, or the region, as we sometimes call them here in the UK and maybe across in Europe. And it's incredibly important. Unity is so important. And, you've touched on a number of things there here tonight, which we could actually fill an entire new space for. In fact, maybe we should do that. And I think, you're living it, you're doing it, all the do's and the don'ts, and you've learned over many years, as I have, the things that you do in terms of food preps, all that type of thing. But if we break it down into simple solutions, and that kind of takes me to the next part, and we're going to come to Kathy, and then we're going to go to George. But the next part is kind of connected into the last part, where we're talking about, can you exist outside the grid? So we're all about solutions. We identify the problems, and then we offer the solutions. So the solutions and the resilience. What practical steps can people take right now? Building food security, asset protection, AI literacy. In other words, understanding what AI is, what it does, and how we can actually use it for good purposes. And networked assistance or resistance. Network resistance is non-compliance. And I think Kathy spoke about this in different forms, and others did as well. So we're going to maybe have a little think about that, and we'll talk about that, and hopefully give people the confidence that there are practical, sensible things that they can do right now. One of the things I would always encourage people to do is to get out of debt. And once again, I've written 3 books. They're not published, but I did put them up on Freedom Train International's website. If you're interested, go to freedomtraininternational.org. You'll be able to get in there, get signed up as a member, and there's a wealth of information about how do you even buy land? You know, where do you go? What do you do? How do you start if you've never been involved in things like this before? And we break it all down into simple steps. Then we go on to intermediate, and then we go to advanced stages where we're actually giving people advice on where to go and where to buy land and farms or small holdings. So there's a lot of detail in there. But let me go to I think it was Kathy. I apologise, George, if you were up first, but I think it was Kathy. So let me go to Kathy, and then we'll go to George, and then we're going to go back to the co-hosts as well to have a chat about this. When you go, Kathy.
Thanks, Jim. Jim, I just want to say thanks to Pin. She is a wealth of knowledge, and I totally agree with you. And Pin, we need to take ourselves out of the system, and we need to start preparing. But also, we all know that there's this massive global control going on. But I do think there's also a massive global awakening going on. And I'm going to come back to what Eddie Hobbs said, where people weren't critically thinking. I think people were lazy at the start of COVID. They didn't want to question the government. They didn't want to think for themselves. But in essence, I actually think all the governments have literally shot themselves in the foot with COVID, because and what they're doing after COVID. What the people have seen with the lockdown measures and how it affected their children. Hugh McCarthy, he's an ex-principal over here in Northern Ireland, has done a lot of substacks on masking of children and the lockdown, what the lockdown measures have done to the children as far as their learning capabilities go. You're talking about the vaccines, all these people that have taken the vaccines, and you now hear so many people. My uncle who's got cancer, my auntie had a heart attack, my granny hasn't been very well since she's got. So people are starting to wake up and realize actually your government is not looking after you. And I think more so in the UK, with us being censored, going to, letting pedophiles and rapists out of prison to put people in who've done a mean into prison. People are going like, hold on, am I living in dystopia here? So we're getting censored. The UK government are doing more for the illegal immigrants than what they're doing for our elderly. They put in the illegal immigrants and you're from America. The Democrats did this, paying for 5-star hotels for these illegal immigrants to stay in it, but they can't pay for the elderly's winter fuel payments. Now they're coming off to people who are disabled and cutting benefits for people that are disabled. So more and more people are actually going to be wakening up that the governments are not actually looking after you. And I just want everybody to realize, with what happened with Serco, and they're bringing these CBDCs, you just say no. With the biometrics, with the vaccines, with the 15-minute cities, they need everybody's consent. And if you say, no, I do not consent to CBDC, what's the alternative? Can I still use cash? They can't turn around and say, no, you can't use cash. It's legal tender. It's a law. And they can't go against that law. So they can bring in the CBDCs, but they still have to have the alternative with it. So I think, being positive and saying, no, we're not giving up our world. We're not going to let you just take it. You don't have our consent. We have to still continue to fight to have our world the way it was.
I think you're absolutely. I think you're absolutely right, Kathy. When you talk or when we hear about the Great Reset, actually, the Great Awakening is what's taking place right now, and in many ways, they showed their hand during the lockdowns, during the dystopian mandates, and all the things that happened. But there's so many people. You're right. There's so many people who have been diagnosed with early onset cancers, going straight to stage 3, stage 4, myocarditis, pericarditis, a whole host of ailments. And I think people are waking up to it now, but they will use fear. They will use psychological operations, or fifth generational warfare is the more technical term. And what we must always remember is these people are very clever, they're very smart, they're highly organized and very well funded, although thanks to President Trump, their USAID taxpayer dollars has been drying up rather quickly, but they will probably put it onto the taxpayers in their respective countries once again. So I completely agree with that. We're going to go to Georgie, then I'm going to hand back to Malou and Peter, and just to once again further discussion on the solutions and the resilience, and give people the confidence about living outside the grid or outside the system. So Georgie, you're up next.
Thank you very much. I just chimed in to say goodbye. It's getting really late where I am. It's been an absolutely fantastic conversation. I feel blessed and privileged by you having me here and listening to Jim, Malou, Peter, Kathy, Patrick, and the rest of all those Pine Lakes, yes. Pine Lakes, and the rest of the amazing and thought-inspiring and open-minded speakers here. So I'll leave you with this parting message. What we've been discussing in trying to understand the global government, the elites, the globalists, the WEF, and all their tools. It sits under a blanket term of evil. So evil is real. It's not metaphysics. It's not it's not a projection. It's not something psychological. It's not a piece of narrative. It's not a postmodern thing. It's not discourse. It's as real as material as everything you see around yourself. Evil is real, but so is good. I want you to remember this. But so is good. So thanks God. Thanks, goodness, and thank you. Goodbye. See you later.
Thank you, Georgia. And can I just also say it's been an absolute privilege to have you here. I've had authors, I've had all sorts of very, very interesting guests on my show. I haven't had a philosopher yet, although Malou has. She's got a great friend and a philosopher in Denmark, but I would love to have you on. Please do feel free, if you would like to reach out to me by DM, maybe we can organize that, because I think what you've said tonight and the way you've said it, the eloquent way that you put it across, will resonate with a lot of people for absolutely sure. But thank you so much indeed,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we should have a nice big talk, diving deep into ideas and things like that. I'd enjoy it and would count it as a great privilege. Thank you once again. And good night. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Georgie. Good night, and look forward to that. So we're going to, on the same theme of can you exist outside the grid, steps towards digital independence, VPNs, analog alternatives, community building, solutions, resilience. These are all things that will get us through the challenges that are going to be coming. I mean, let's face it, there are challenges going to be coming. But let me go to Malou. Malou, how important is it for people, do you think, to be able to weather the storm that is coming, do you think?
Well, if we're going to survive, we need to do that. But I want to bring in some points here, because what Gregory was talking about, these are the kind of conversations that we need to have. So I want to ask a question for the audience here, and you can just think about it. Do you believe that you live in a loving universe or in a hostile universe? And just think about it. Humans have a capacity or capability to always find solution. And the biggest reason why humans are suffering is that they believe that there is something from outside of themselves or somebody that will come and stop the suffering. But we are the ones that will stop the suffering. It just takes us through things that we didn't realize that were needed for us to realize that we have the capability to find solutions. But we need to have these deeper conversations about what we are, what it is to be human, what is fear, what is love, and do we believe that we live in a loving or hostile universe? That's it.
Malou, I think we live in both. Like that professor just said there, that you have evil with the elite, but you also have the likes of us that's on this show that are loving and caring and looking for solutions. So I think we're actually living in a dual sort of environment at the minute.
I want to take it a step deeper then, because I agree, but that is humans. When you look at the way we are co-creating with the universe, when you look at the way that we are souls having a human experience in a universe that is so marvelous and so perfect, that we are co-creating our own experience. We are co-creator of the reality that we see manifested in human experience in this world, that on this earth that we call home. Then in my view, we live in a loving universe, but it's humans that have the capability of doing the feelings that we call evil. I don't know how old you are, but I can tell you that when I was a child, it was very normal that, and I was brought up in the 70s, right? I'm 53. And in